We are joined by Abhishek Somani to speak about how to crack product-based companies. So let me give a small intro about his career, and I feel honored to give it. Abhishek Somani is a CSE undergraduate from NIT Warangal and a Microsoft intern in his third year, and later on worked as a software engineer in Microsoft and Amazon. He is currently working as a senior software engineer in Coinbase from 2021. He contributed several articles to Geeks for Geeks, I Deserve, and many more. His honors include Google Microsoft Learning Hackathon and 122nd position in Week of Code and 177th in Project Euler by HackerRank and many more. He got many offers from Facebook, Uber, Microsoft, Amazon, Coinbase, and many reputed startups. And I want to share a few passions of his, like which include game development, competitive programming, algorithm, data science, and web development too. Like it's absolutely inspiring profile, sir. We are glad to have you here with us. I am sure the audience are eagerly waiting to hear you. I won't take much of their time and would hand over it to you to start the session, sir. The stage is all yours.
Yeah, thanks Sandeep for that awesome intro of mine. Never got so much praise in one go. So yeah, let me share my screen. I have prepared a quick deck so that I can cover this big ocean of a topic in this hour that I have. So how to get into product-based companies? When you talk about product-based companies, these are companies which have some product that they are working on, which is live and which lot of consumers or end users are using. So Facebook, which is known as Meta, have their own product which is called Meta or Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Uber, Microsoft, Amazon, Coinbase, Atlassian, and all of these giant companies have their own product. So I will be talking about what are the do's and don'ts and the pros and cons, trade-offs, nits, and whatever is required to get into such companies. So yeah, let's get started. So just again, a very crisp intro, very short of what Sandeep said. Hello, my name is Abhishek Somani, and currently I'm a senior software engineer at Coinbase. Worked at Amazon and Microsoft. Yeah, my LinkedIn profile is Abhishek Somani. You can reach out to me, and there is my Insta if you want to check out my life experiences. So my journey so far has been that I did my computer science graduation from NIT Warangal from the batch 2K13-17. I got my internship at Microsoft in 2K16, joined as an FTE by getting a PPO, worked in Dynamics for Talent and Bing travel segments. Later on, I moved to Amazon in 2019, and where I was primarily involved in a project called Project Santos, which is now live. You can check it out. It's a competitor of Shopify. And previously, I was working on Alexa devices and product. And currently, I'm working at Coinbase, the biggest name in the industry that you can hear of in terms of blockchain and Web3. I have worked on identity verification as an alternate two-factor authentication mechanism and currently working on a confidential initiative, which soon will be live, and hopefully that will help a lot of folks. So yeah, this has been my journey so far. Now addressing the elephant in the room, right? So how do you get interview calls? So this is one question which often pops up, and I get plethora of messages on LinkedIn that, sir or Abhishek, can you help me out getting an interview call? So let me demystify of what this means. So personally, what worked for me is there are a lot of recruiters who reach out to you over LinkedIn. And again, I will emphasize LinkedIn a lot because it is the one-stop shop solution for all the professional network that you can have. You should keep it updated. You should, first of all, you should not lie. You should be authentic. If you are generally skilled in, let's say, IoT or ML, you should be proud about that, and you should often share your contributions, be it open source, be it research paper or whatsoever, so that your visibility remains in the entire professional network. Through that visibility, recruiters will reach out to you via email or via DMs, right? And you can take the process forward. And that is the first step of getting interview calls. Second of all, you can directly go on a company's website. Every company has their careers page. You can go whatever job description best suits to your interest and aligns with your experience. You can go and apply there. I personally have never taken referrals, but I will strongly recommend it because it is being the de facto method of getting a fast track interview process for any company. So if you have effective networks at some companies and you want to work there, I will say use that networking and clear communication as much as possible, and you can take referrals for a fast track interview process. Again, I want to emphasize referrals doesn't mean that you get a job offer then and there. You have to go through the interview process, but that still has some weightage because it is coming from a known person. So this has worked for me, and hopefully it will work for you. So again, I'm trying to go one level deeper. Recruiters reaching out to you. How is that happening? So again, I have seen people struggling with getting any emails from recruiters. They often find themselves in a deep hole where they are not getting any one approaching them, right? So I will say try to build a brand and visibility. Not that I'm claiming that I am a brand right now. I am far away from it, but I will say visibility is something that you need to build. You should share back to the community. I would say you should consider it as a community like any Discord server, let's say, right? If you're an active streamer, you will really like the concept of community where you give back and you also have takeaways, right? So try to build that, get into effective networking, as part of which you just don't reach out to people just for help. You also help them back. If there is someone who needs help with a specific topic, like let's say resume review or let's say mentorship on a specific topic, try to find some time which works for both of you, right? And try to help them out. So that way you will build strong networks that will help you out in the entire journey of your career, rather than having a short-term conversations with anyone. And finally, I will again emphasize use LinkedIn for all of the above. There are a lot of other platforms, but LinkedIn has been the best platform that I could recommend. So yeah, this is how you get recruiters to at least reach out to you. Again, tips on using LinkedIn: learn from success and rejection stories. The one thing that I absolutely like about LinkedIn is people are very transparent. They also share their success stories, and at the same time, they also share the learnings that they had from the rejection stories. Both are the sides of the coin which you have to take and progress in your career, right? So try to learn from them. Post your learnings as well and meaningful content. So let's say Sandeep is working on some awesome machine learning research topic, right? So I would definitely encourage Sandeep that summarize that in crisp layman terms so that anyone else can understand and post it, right? So with that, you also create visibility, you give back, you donate back to the community. Finally, emphasize on building stronger connections. Again, this abides to the principle of effective networking. When you build connections, try to see what interests align, try to spark topics which have some alignment, where there can be interesting topics, where there can be disagreements, but from that disagreements you will have some conclusions. So that will also enable you to be a clear communicator. It will build your soft skills so that when you get into a company, that will help you in terms of becoming a leader, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone has to be a leader, has to take ownership, and that is really important. So yeah, once you get a interview call, right, how does the overall process looks like? So basically, there are three major steps that will get you an offer from any product-based companies. Usually, the first step is phone screen or coding assessment. Usually, this is the starting point of any interview, where and generally phone screen and coding assessments happen if there is no referral involved. If there is referral, companies tend to skip phone screen and coding and directly take you the onsite. Again, on-site can be virtual and in person because of after the COVID wave, things have changed a lot. So phone screen is basically a preliminary test to just assess your skills and experience, to just see if an on-site round should happen for you, because on-site has a lot of resources involved. There is a lot of process that goes into an on-site, be it coordinating, be it scheduling, be it getting actual time from the interviewers, 4 to 5 rounds, right? So that's why phone screen or coding assessment is generally a knockout round, where if you perform well, you are in for all those on-site rounds that will happen. So let's say if you have cleared your phone screen and coding assessments, which is the preliminary test, on-site will have 4 to 5 rounds usually, but again, it depends on what type of role you're applying to. That will be very focused on capturing your strengths and weaknesses, your growth areas, how culturally fit you are for the company, what are your aspirations, goals, what problems excite you, what you are curious about, what are the problem statements that you have worked on, what are the real world problems that you want to work on. So all of these are the data points that often interviewers gauge upon. And once you nail all of them, once you have hit a 6 on all the nobles, then comes the feedback and the offer phase. So in the feedback and the offer phase, generally recruiters reach out to you with the detailed or brief, depends on which company you're working on, of the feedback of what went right, what went wrong, so that you can also have an idea that okay, at so and so round I missed XYZ points, so you can work upon that. And finally, if everything is positive, an offer is extended where you can go into the phases of negotiation and final acceptance. So this is how an overall process looks like. Now you're clear about how recruiters will reach out to you, how you will get an like job call or job scheduling done. But now comes the even main part, which is preparation and how do you prepare, especially for engineering roles, right? So yeah, let's start with a quote. I don't know who wrote that quote, but I feel it was me only. So train your mind and your fingers will follow. Let me try to explain what does that even mean, right? So try to solve as much problems as you can, especially I'm focusing on data structures, because data structures improve your critical thinking, your ability to reason or analyze a given set of constraints and then solve a problem. I have heard a lot of people in the industry, including me, stating that okay, I read segment trees and I read split trees, suffix trees, and all of that, but I never coded them in my real life in the industry. That's absolutely true. Even problems like dynamic programming, I hardly think there will be like 2 to 3% chance that you will actually write a DP, a memoized DP for say in real life production level code. But you have to understand that these build the problem solving aspect of your mind, right? Your brain rewires itself to actually find small and common patterns. So if you do a lot of problems related to data structures, which are like be related to string matching, be related to disjoint set unions, graphs, trees, or any advanced data structures for say, then you get that feel that okay, how things work, and your coding will improve a lot, your fast thinking will improve a lot, your problem solving will improve a lot. And if your problem solving skills is top notch, it doesn't matter if you're a front end developer, if you're a back end developer, if you're an ML engineer, even if you're an IoT engineer, you will absolutely crack a problem, because always the one thing that is common is you will have a problem in hand. And if your problem solving skills are top notch, you will always sail through all the interviews. Second, understand the concepts of algorithms. I feel every aspect has algorithms. By definition, algorithms means a stepwise procedure. So I don't think any aspect of computer science is left untouched by not involving algorithms. You cannot be short visioned where you see algorithms can be of sorting, searching and all. Even machine learning has a lot of algorithms involved. So I would say any stepwise procedure is algorithm. You have to understand the concept. I will say also focus on the fundamentals like hash tables or trees, because many a times you will have to utilize the resources in your hand, right? When I say hash maps and trees, at end of the day, these are the RAMs and these are the heap memories and the stack memories that are present on your computer or your cloud, right? That you want to utilize. So try to understand the fundamentals. Be a proactive coder. What means by that is try to write a code and find bug on yourself without trying to run that code and find that okay, for which test case it is getting failed, or either you're getting segmentation fault or time limit exceeded. Before doing that, think of edge cases, think of test cases where the code can fail. So using which, what will happen is you will become much more matured in terms of your coding practices. You will code once and that will work always. So be that type of coder. Emphasize on the complexities. I have taken multiple interviews to analyze this thing, that people and especially students often forget mentioning about time complexities and space complexities. I would say don't by heart anything. Try to understand how big O's work, how thetas work, or the average complexities work, right? The best cases and the worst cases. And also try to think one step ahead whenever you are solving, even if you have a acceptance of your code, right? Try to think that can I improve on any of the aspect, be it space, be it time, right? That will always make you a smart developer who thinks out of the box, who thinks to find and dig more solutions whatsoever. Finally, the last advice that I have is don't memorize answers and code. Again, I have faced a lot of candidates who come with almost the entire Geeks for Geeks by heart. I don't know how they do that, but that won't take you long. They will get you offers from at least few companies, but in the long run, that will affect the trajectory of your career to a great extent. So don't try to memorize. Even I would say again, focus on your fundamentals and try to understand it holistically. With this being said, the next question that generally comes up is what coding platform should I use? There are abundance of coding platforms. Everything seems so good. I have named a few big names like HackerEarth, HackerRank, InterviewBit, AtCoder, CodeForces, and LeetCode. I would say pick any of the one and try to do that dedicatedly. All of these platforms are built to improve your coding abilities in terms of data structures, algorithms, debugging, problem solving, time complexity, space complexities. All of the aspects are really well covered. So I would say don't hop on again and again. So if you're let's say working on CodeForces, and if someone comes and say that okay, I'm finding InterviewBit really easy, don't just take the word for granted and switch to InterviewBit. Stick to one. All the coding platforms are really good. I can add even more. There is UVA, there is CSES, there are so many. There is binarysearch.com, there is Algo Expert. So if I try to squeeze them in one slide, it will be just pictures all over. So try to pick anyone. I really like CodeForces and HackerEarth a lot. I have been doing LeetCode for quite some time, at least one question daily. It keeps my finger active, not letting them rust out. So I would say, yeah, you can pick LeetCode or CodeForces. Personal favorite being HackerEarth. So yeah. So this being said, what about system design? By being cognizant about the audience here, who might be undergrads or who might be students, system design is not that useful for undergrads, but having at least a superficial high level understanding of how systems work is really good. So I would say read about CAP theorem. What does it mean? What is the concept of scalability and trade-offs? Try to read engineering blogs of Uber, Facebook, or Stripe to understand how these systems are built. It might happen that 90% of the things go over your head, but in the long run, you will become really mature and you will be a proactive person who knows all of this stuff beforehand. Personally, to me, this has helped a lot for exponential and fast growth in my career. So I will definitely recommend it. There are a lot of articles on AOSA and high scalability, which you can use as your weapons. I will say participate in design reviews and architecture meetings once you get into a company. Before that, I will say it'll be much premature. If you're just reading in your college, then this might not be relevant for you. But all of these articles will be. So few of the resources that I want to share on system design. Martin Kleppmann's Designing Data Intensive Application, which is also called DDIA. It is almost like CLRS for data structures. It is like the Bible for system design. It's a very fat book. Don't be overwhelmed when you see that. Try to read it and understand the concept. It will be really, really good. There is a GitHub repository called System Design Primer. I guess it's from Don and Martin, but I might be wrong. But yeah, that's really, really good. Highscalability.com is a really good website where you will find articles dating back to 2009, where Instagram was getting built, WhatsApp was getting built. So you can also not just read about how these systems are built, but also analyze what is the evolution process of these famous apps that you use, right? And AOSA, Architecture of Open Source Application, great repository of going into depth of how things are built. So these are something that you can take as a hobby, reading side by side with whatever be your expertise. If you're a front-end developer, you can just skim through and understand, okay, how systems are built. It will be really helpful for a long-term career. What about newsletters? Not everyone wants to just go search about something and read, right? People often want newsletters where some big news or breaking news or the hot trending topics are to be given to you at your footsteps. So I will definitely recommend these newsletters. Byte Go. It is from Alex Zhu and his team. Alex Zhu has written 2 really famous books called System Design. Byte Go also covers things at a very high level and at the same time going one level deeper. It is a mix of that. So you can understand of how Apple Pay versus Google Pay work, what is the what is the behind the scenes of a HTTPS request, right? How does a request propagate through different systems? All of those fancy things about how caching works, you will get to know from Byte. Pragmatic engineer from Gurley Oros. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Marvelous engineer. He was working at Uber, and Pragmatic engineer is one of the most liked newsletter, I would say. I personally like it a lot. It has depth to it. It has also the concept of podcasts. So I am really liking it. Orally, I would say this name everyone must have heard. There is no field where Orally does not have any book, and that too great books. They also have a programming newsletter if you want to subscribe. For front-end devs, JavaScript Weekly is something that I really find good. And again, I would say you can do a Google search. You can find a lot of good newsletters. This is not the exhaustive list. These are a few of the ones that I like, but you can definitely have a different set of exhaustive list. What about AI, ML, and IoT? This is a specialization. This is a field of stream which is getting popular day by day, and for obvious reasons. So I can recommend deep learning specialization from Andrew Ng. I guess it is available on Coursera. That is a really good session in terms of machine learning and going one level deeper of how deep learning works. Andrew Ng also has his courses about machine learning fundamentals. I would say I have not encountered any course as good as that is. Hands-on Machine Learning with Scikit-learn, Keras, and TensorFlow from Orally is a really good book that you can read and understand the concepts of ML with some hands-on experience of importing Scikit-learn libraries, NumPy libraries, Pandas, Keras, and TensorFlow. Machine Learning from Tom and Mitchell is one of the core books that builds your fundamentals really hard. So if you go and understand few of the concepts from Tom and Mitchell, I would say you will be definitely a good ML engineer. For IoT, I would say try as many hands-on projects as possible. There are so many real-world problems, traffic pattern analysis, streaming data. You can use Arduino, you can use Raspberry Pis and whatnot. There is so much boom in this area. And yeah, try to do as many projects. And this applies for all the streams of work. Try to do as many projects, but I have captured it in a separate section, which is open source contributions. That's why the first pointer is do as much as possible. That's the best advice that I can give you. I really lagged a lot in open source contributions. I still lack at open source contribution. I try to read a lot of code, but again, from a contributing standpoint, I'm still really lazy and procrastinating it day by day. But I would say to young developers like you, right, who have that enthusiasm and energy, try to go through multiple repositories, mainstream repositories, like how React is working. Let's say how Golang is written, or how MS-DOS is written, right? Windows operating system. What is the development process behind Linux? So all of that will give you understanding of design patterns of how coding actually happens. What is production ready code? I will also say try to raise qualitative PRs in mainstream repositories. A lot of my friends who are really active in open source, they try to raise a lot of pull requests. So for people who do not know what pull request is, so on GitHub, there are code repositories. If you want to introduce any change, you have to raise something called a pull request, which gives all the other reviewers a snapshot of what is the difference between the existing code and your change. And they can iteratively go on that change by commenting and getting feedback and trying to refine it as much as possible before merging your piece of change into the actual mainstream code repository. Like as layman definition of PR, that is. Try to provide constructive and pinpointed feedback. I would say reviewing others' PR and going through other people's comment is the best way of learning, because you will get such a out of the box and such like flabbergasting replies from people pinpointing such minute level of code that for our naked eyes might be not even eye-catching, right? So try to do that and learn coding patterns. There are a lot of design patterns like abstract factories, builder patterns, singletons, composite, and all of this might sound overwhelming, but when you try to read codes, you will get a feel for it. You will start writing code like that. So yeah, and do as much code walkthrough as possible. Try to peer with someone else. Try to get your best friend over for a party and just try to bore him by doing a code walkthrough. Best way of doing it. Just fake it till you make it, right? So that is one other way of doing open source contributions. There are behavioral rounds as well. I guess for interns and for fresh grads, these are not involved. But as soon as you get into a company, right, behavioral rounds or behavior or cultural fitment becomes really important. So you can use a concept of STAR. What is the situation, task, action, and the result? I will talk about that in the later slide. Prepare the stories beforehand. This is generally for people who have 3 to 4 years of experience, and I have covered this in my LinkedIn article regarding how to become a star using STAR methodology. So I will skip this for now. Yeah, this is the article, becoming a star using the STAR technique. So if you want, you can go async and read about it, and you will understand, okay, how things and behavioral rounds work, to be honest. Yeah, look up the internet. Read more about topics on multiple platforms and utilize internet to the fullest. I would say you are lucky enough to be born in the era where internet is so famous and every kind of information is at your tip, at your disposal. So I will say just try to Google it. I would say there is also an art of Googling what keywords to search. Try to use as much double quotes as possible. Try to use prefix matches and regex. There is a very good article about improving your Google searches. Try to read that. When do you use plus? When do you use site equals this site? So all of these are few nuances that you should learn and try to utilize the internet. Some interesting books. Yeah, this is my recent collection of books. I haven't gone through any of these, but just for show off, I have all of this. So in case people feel that I'm not going through or reading or updating myself. So there are a few books I will definitely recommend. One is Learning HTTP 2. So this will give you insights about how a request works. And if you want to learn it high level, ByteByteGo, as I already mentioned, has this. There is something called database internals. This is really, really good because all the college curriculums have the concept of DBMS, right? Where you will read about normalization, denormalization, indexing, and all of that. So database internals will take you one level deeper. Algorithms Illuminated, really good book in terms of improving the basics, improving on certain algorithms that you think are really required. There are general purposes book also, like Design Your Thinking, Rendezvous with Practical Solidity, if you're an enthusiast of Web3 or blockchain. If you want to be learning a specific language, you can order any O'Reilly book. They have books about almost everything. I really like their series of Head First. So I used to read Head First Java, Head First C++. You can also order that. And if you want to learn more about how microservices are built, which is like the big jazz word that is going on in the industry, I will recommend Building Event-Driven Microservices. Really good book. And yeah, if you want to just read like books to improve your concentration or memory, there is this book called Memory and Anything, and How to Improve Your Concentration, Thinking Fast and Slow. Amazing books. So yeah, I will provide this deck so that you can refer it offline as well. Interview, this is the final stage. So what are the do's and don'ts for coding interview? At least I will keep it very specific to coding interviews because given the market condition, I feel software jobs are much more in abundance as compared to targeted roles like an architect role or a machine learning engineer role or a robotics engineer, right? So I will keep it very simple in terms of coding interviews. So what are the do's? Always ask clarifying questions. So let's say if I ask you any question that given an array where all the elements are repeating n times except one. So don't just take it for granted that, okay, if n is equal to 2, I will apply XOR. If n is equals to 3, I will do that. Try to ask clarifying questions of what can be the constraints. Is there a constraint on space complexity? What is the time complexity that you're looking at? Can I use hash maps? If I don't use hash maps, can I use this bit masking and whatnot? So try to ask clarifying questions with which you can display that you are thinking in terms of SDLC, which is software development lifecycle. If you have gone through SDLC, the first phase is gathering requirements. Then you go into documentation and designing. Then you go into implementation, and finally you execute and get it to your customers, right? So try to follow that as much as possible. Walk through multiple approaches. So I would say there are a lot of very talented engineers who try to remain as silent as possible and just directly code the best possible solution. although I won't say they will get rejected, but in the long term, you have to be a team player. There will be a lot of occasions when you get hired in a company, right? Product based company, you have to pitch in your ideas. You have to walk through your approaches based on data points, and those data points might be complexities, might be user research, and all of that, right? So I will say start building out that practice. When you are in an interview, try to consider that interviewer as a candidate who is trying to learn from you, and try to walk through your approaches so that they can understand. Because I would say interview is a learning process for both the candidate and the interviewer. It's not like someone is actually judging you. They are, but at the same time they're learning from you as well. Mention the complexities. Again, time and space, big ones. Apart from that, if you have other things to talk about, like how do you optimize certain specifics, like constant improvements, also try to, if you are sure, try to explain that as well. Code in a modular way. This is something which is often lacking in undergrad students and who are really active in competitive coding, because they will have a one fat method, int main or whatever be the main function, invoking and getting the job done. The variables will be named as int x, y, z, n's, v's and r's. So I would say try to, at least before interview, try to have a habit of where you have a right naming convention, which is again the next do's that is following up. Try to have names like int is this expected, which might represent a boolean as well, right? Int execute this, int handlers, or with their proper return types, right? So try to code in a modular way where one function is also reused by other calling functions, right? Rather than just putting one function and having entire business logic or entire logic there. Finally, be receptive to hints. I would again emphasize interviewer wants your success, because they are thriving to hire good developers like you. So oftentimes they will give you hints. Try to be receptive, try to grab those hints and use them to your fullest extent, and don't go in an interview with a closed mind where you are like, okay, whatever I have said is the right thing. This interviewer might not be aware of all of this. Keep in mind that they also have Google. They can just Google search and find even optimized answers that what you are suggesting. So try to be receptive of what they are saying. Again, don't, all the opposites are still valid, but I want to add few more. Staying silent, don't do that. Try to be vocal. Incorrect answer with confidence, don't try to do that. I have seen a lot of people who try to dodge the answer by tackling with some incorrect answers with confidence. I would say you will, if you honestly say that I don't know, is far better, which shows that okay, you are trustworthy, rather than giving incorrect answer with confidence, because you are not a team player and you will raise questions about yourself in terms of untrust. Companies won't hire a person who is giving false answers with uttermost confidence. Don't do that. Also, don't under prepare and over prepare, like all of the machine learning enthusiasts who know the concept of underfitting and overfitting. Don't go in an interview under prepared. You are trying to utilize so much resources of a company by scheduling 1 hour each of 4 to 5 interviewers, right? You're getting that 1 hour to learn from them. So be adequately prepared, and at the same time, don't over prepare to an extent that you're stressed out and you are not feeling at your best. So keep it simple, keep it normal, be at your prime and just face it. Ignoring the hints, which is exactly opposite to be receptive. Don't try to ignore hints. Faking a known question. I have seen often people who have practiced the question, and when they get that question in interviews, they all have Cadbury's melting in their heart, and they don't say the interviewer. They try to enact in a way that okay, this is something new. They are getting their way around. But keep in mind, interviewers are also they have been in your place, they have been in your shoes. They will quickly get a hold of it. So be honest. You can say that okay, I have gone through this question and these are these approaches. If you still want me to code, I will code it, or else let's try something different. That shows an interviewer that you're passionate about solving new problems. You want to be challenged. It's not like that okay, you have solved and just getting for that job offer you are faking it. Don't do that. Assuming interviewer is devil, I have always seen people who are struggling with the interview. They will assume that okay, this interviewer is a devil, he wants me to fail. They start cursing them in their mind, in the back of the head. But again, I want to emphasize, every interviewer has this good faith and they want that candidate to succeed. You can imagine from a company's perspective, they have open vacancies. They will try to fill it as fast as possible, right? So what is the incentive for them to reject someone? We are not getting paid to reject someone, right? So you don't assume that. You can assume him to be a companion. You can assume him to be a friend at work who will help you out. So yeah, these are some of the do's and don'ts for coding interviews. Coming to do's and don'ts for design interview, I will just show this for 10 seconds at max, but I won't go in detail because it is not applicable for the intended audience of this call at least and this seminar. So yeah, a few of the concepts apply, like asking clarifying questions, trade-offs, comparing your choices, mentioning some principles, starting with big high-level boxes and then going deep into some components. Yeah, but when you face design interviews, hopefully I can schedule another seminar with CSEA and IT and wherever you are working in your companies, and I can discuss this in length. Use diagrams to explain your thoughts. This is again applicable for design interviews, but nowadays I have also started seeing the habit of whiteboarding. Even for coding interviews, you can use a whiteboard, which is also available on almost all platforms that the companies will ask you for giving a coding interview. Try to think of, like, let's say if, I can give an example. Let's say if this question is related to KD trees or NRA trees, right? You can mentally or actually draw a tree with n nodes, or you can also draw tries to understand how the nodes are working. That will also help the interviewer understand that this candidate is visually understanding of what the problem is asking and incrementally reaching that solution, right? So diagrams are really helpful. It talks a lot about how deep you think, how mature you are. So try to come up with a naive or brute force component with your diagram. Incrementally go up in terms of optimization until you reach the most optimized or the deepest component. And interviewer would like to get the most optimal solution, but don't hesitate to scratch your brains and think deeper. I have seen candidates who, just because of time crunch, they will satisfy themselves with the suboptimal component. I will say in that situation you can ask or plead interview, can I get 5 more minutes, because I will try to at least give it one more shot to think of something optimized. That shows your passion of how enthusiastic and how much do you want to solve that problem in as optimized manner as possible, right? So try to go over and beyond or above and beyond, right? Do's and don'ts for behavioral interview. Again, I will pause here for 5 seconds so that you grasp it, but not very applicable for fresh grads, I would say. Generally, the aptitude of a fresh grad, if you have the right mindset of solving a lot of problems, if you're really excited for that company, if you have done at least some iota of research about that company, you're behaviorally good for that company. If you have done your homework, like if, let's say, if you're interviewing for some XYZ company, you know what products they are working on, what are the key areas, what is the revenue that they generated, any specifics, right? That will be really good. Some bonus tips to stand out. As I already mentioned, research. Spend time to understand the job role. So let's say if you're applying for an ML engineer, go through the job description of what are the requirements that they are looking for and what are the curiosities and what are the things that you want to work upon. If both of them align, then definitely go further and go to the next steps. Also research about the interviewers. I have seen that a lot of the companies have also started disclosing of whom you will be interviewing with, so that you can also go ahead, learn about them, what are their passions or interests, right? So that you can spark a very interesting conversation. So let's say if let's say I am your interviewer and if you're gone through my LinkedIn, right? So you can understand that I like singing and I also like competitive coding and game development, right? So you can spark questions like in your free time, what are the few games that you have developed? How did you develop them? What are the coding patterns? So that will also give you learnings and at the same time will show your interest, genuine interest. And again, don't do this just to get a job offer. Try to remain as authentic and as genuine as possible. Remain interested in a company at your core rather than just faking it. Again, fake it till you make it is applicable to few segments, not all the segments. Be curious, ask interviewer meaningful questions like, do you have questions for me section, in which you can ask questions like, what is the most interesting problem that you are working on? What are few of the challenges that you felt were really hard and how did you solve them? So you will also get to learn more about it and more about what are the problems they are getting indulged in. Finally, be a team player. Everyone wants to work with someone with the right attitude. Be humble and collaborative. Don't be that smart ass who is very hard to work with. I have seen a lot of talented engineers who work in silos. Don't be that person. Be that person who everyone reaches out to, who is helpful, who is approachable, and who tries to get mentorship and also provide mentorship. Again, don't fake it, rather adopt it in your life. Questions? Yeah. So we are about right time. Any questions that you have for me? Sandeep, over to you.
Yes, sir. We have few questions from our students of NIDP. So, like one question is, how can I find good research projects?
Mm-hmm. I would say there are a lot of publications that you can search for. IEEE is one of the best websites where you can search for a few of the sparking topics. I guess you can also go to scholars.google.com. I guess Google Scholars, where you also have citation index and H indexes, through which you can understand that, okay, what is the topic which is most interviewed for, most cited, and based on that you can pick your research project as well. And again, I would say research is very broad topic. You can also take health segment as a research topic. You can talk about cancer. You can research about how breast cancer or uterus cancer is affecting a very big segment of the entire world, right? You can contribute to the entire world by researching on that. You can also research about astrophysics if you're interested in. There are a lot of good data points, data to build your models as well. And if you want to genuinely research about a core topic, then I would say, yeah, you can be the first person to start it from scratch.
Yes, sir. And another question is, may I know where can I find good final year projects ideas? The same question, sir. And how can I find off-campus jobs?
So for off-campus jobs, again, I would emphasize that you can use the concept of LinkedIn jobs. LinkedIn has a separate section called jobs where you can see all the job postings. And if you have big names in your mind, if you are aware, well versed about the industry, you can go to that company's career page and directly apply. Or else you can join teamblind.com. It's a really good platform where you can know about a lot of the good companies, what pay scale they are providing. You can use levels.fyi for also understanding what pay scale is being offered for a specific level. You can also follow LeetCode Discuss. LeetCode has a Discuss channel where you can see the compensation models, the interview experiences of different companies. You can also do a very simple Google search about the top startups if you want to thrive into a startup environment, and you'll get really good suggestions. So I would say, yeah, I would come back to this slide. It's talked about look up the internet, because everything is present on the internet. You just have to use the right set of keywords. So, and you'll get everything handy. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir. And another question is, where can I find a good final year projects? And the before question is about research projects, and now they are asking about the final year projects.
I would say if you just glance around yourself, you will find final year projects. Whichever, even if you're in a hostel room, even if you're in dormitory, even if you're in library, you just see around yourself, you will get final year projects. I can give you an example. Right now, I am with Sandeep over a Google Meet call. So let's say you want to create Google Meet, right? How do you do that? That's a final year project. Doesn't matter if it's a repeat, if it is exact replica or a clone, but it will give you a lot of data points. So you're watching this stream on YouTube. How do you build YouTube? How do you store all of the videos? How do you do a checksum? How do you reduce the redundancy, right? There are a lot of aspects to it. Even if you're sitting in the library, how do you create a library management system, right? If you're attending a lecture, how does Zoom work? How do latency work? Like, there are multiple topics for final year projects. I would say pick any of those, get deeper. You're ordering things on Amazon, how Amazon is working. You're watching videos on Prime Video, Netflix, how is that working? You're committing code to GitHub, how is that working? All of these are very nice problems to solve. So I would say, again, look up the internet, just see yourself, just see around the environment that you're sitting, be attentive to detail, and you will have multiple of final year projects and you will reach a point where you will ask again the same question to me, that what I should pick. You'll have such a big laundry list. So yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, yes, sir. Actually, that was a very great session, and I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation this evening too, sir.
Mhm.
Your delivery was so engaging that I lost track of time actually listening to this.
Yeah, so
So I can say that
I have one closing remark, Sandeep, before you close off. So if you want to create this is a very deep picture. So if you want to create a big impact, prepare hard and be confident. This is basically a DJ who is trying to increase the bass or the volume, depends on your perception. So try to increase the bass of your life. Remaining as strong as possible in your fundamentals. Try to increase the volume of all of your success by creating high impact projects. And yeah, hopefully you can catch me soon. Abhishek Somani on LinkedIn and Toxic Extra on Insta. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, Sandeep, over to you.
like we got another question, sir. Like, how do I start my preparation to tech interviews in second year and also build my profile? Where do I start?
I would say the second year is much too premature in terms of preparing for tech interviews. I would say you should ideally focus on understanding what are the key areas you are totally interested in. Like in second year, I started getting interested in competitive coding a lot because of the friend circle that I had. Second year is the year of exploration. To be honest, you try to align your interest, whether you want to pursue web development, whether you want to become a front-end engineer, whether you want to become a full stack, whether you want to become a back-end engineer, whether you want to focus on AI ML, whether you want to be a professor, let's say on discrete mathematics, you want to focus on database optimizations, whether you want to be a competitive coder, and screw it all, be active on competitive coding, doesn't care about jobs and whatnot, whether you want to be a gamer or a streamer, right? So I would say don't start streamlining and becoming so short vision that you're only aiming for tech interviews. Tech interviews are one part and parcel of life. There are many influencers, many people who have excelled and outlasted everyone in their own fields, like Gary Minati, right? For example, took up commenting on videos, and you can see where he is. So I would say explore that second year and third year. That's the golden period, and then try to streamline your career. Because after you reach the third year, there are ample amount of resources which will guide you, and your interest for that will guide you yourself. So try to explore.
Yes, sir. Okay, so that was a session, and that was very great, sir. And I want to conclude this session. And on behalf of CSEA and ITAP, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our speaker Abhishek Somani, who spared time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. Thank you so much, sir. And today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and I am sure this is going to inspire a lot of our audience from NIDAP and across the state and India. So your thoughts have enlightened our minds and will help many students of NITIP for their future endeavors too. So, and thank you audience for joining us for the event. Hope you had an insightful session today. We hope to see you all in our future events. You can follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Happy Diwali, everyone. Have a nice day.